Hello and welcome to Matt's Reloading Bench. Today I'm going to be going over how I need to take apart my AR-15. I'll be honest with you, I've had this thing for like 6 years and I don't think I've done a complete teardown on it one single time. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be pretty dirty. It's got at least 2,500 rounds through it. And the only thing that I've done with it thus far is run bore snakes through it and keep the action properly lubricated. So there is going to be a ton of dirt and debris and spent powder residue and carbon buildup all over the place in this thing. I'm sure of it. So this is going to be a pretty large undertaking for myself. But with that being said, stick around and let's see how it goes. So I took the upper off of the lower, and I'm going to be pretty much focusing on cleaning everything for the upper. One thing with this particular rifle, it is a piston-driven rifle. It's not a gas-driven rifle. So I will have to take apart the gas block and the piston assembly and all of that stuff to be able to completely take this down. First, we'll remove the bolt carrier group. And I'm just going to take this and set it off to the side. So this block comes in real handy. You can put it in your bench vise. Take these pins out. And they are set up to line up with the locking pins where your upper would connect to your lower. My first step is going to be removing the flash hider. So for that, I just need to take my armor's wrench. It's got this groove right here, fits right over it, and it spins right off. Now the next step in this process is I'm going to have to remove the gas block because I cannot remove the handguard before the gas block comes off. As you can tell, they almost meet up. There's no way that that's going to get past the block. To remove the gas block, I've got a pin here and a pin here. All right, I'm going to have to take a punch and tap those out. And I've got the second pin out. So now I should be able to remove the block and the piston. So for now, I will take all these parts and set them off to the side. The next step is going to be getting off the handguard, which is going to be done by loosening these two machine screws and one on the bottom here that locks it into place. So the first screw, I'll back this one out. Then I'm going to back these two out. Now this should slide off. There we go. Now I've got the two lock rings off. Now to get the barrel nut off, I am going to put this back into the Wheeler clamp block and get my armor's wrench on here with a breaker bar. For this part, I will not be using the pins to lock it into the takedown pin area. I'm actually going to be using the grooves that are in the top of this, and I'm going to lock it in using the Picatinny rail that's on top of the upper. So for that, you just slide it in, open the clamp up to drop it down in, and clamp it directly on that top area. And now it's locked into place, it doesn't move. So now that I've got it set up in my block, I'm going to go ahead and get the barrel nut off. There we go. So now that I've got that broken loose, I can just thread it out. And then the barrel should just pull right out from the upper. For the upper, I'm just going to set that off to the side for now. I want to focus on cleaning the barrel, both inside and out. Obviously the outside is the easy part, the inside, not always. So with how long it's been since I've actually cleaned this thing, it might be a little dicey. Alright, so I've got my test-long bore scope camera set up on my laptop, and I am going to put it in through the chamber and out the muzzle. So the chamber looks like it's in pretty good condition, nothing that I need to worry about. A little bit of a carbon ring, nothing bad. Now into the bore. And she is dirty. Now, like I said, this barrel has not been cleaned in probably 2,000 plus rounds. Gas port. I would say this barrel looks pretty gosh darn gnarly. First thing I'm going to do is run some Hoppy's number 9 bore cleaner through it. Oh, that's tight. There we go. And I am going to run a few patches through with bore cleaner on because I want to make sure that it saturates in there really good. I am going to let it sit for about 15 minutes to a half an hour, just so that's got adequate time to really set in and get the stuff out. Alright, so the barrel has sat for about half an hour or so with the Hoppy's bore cleaning solution in it. So now I'm going to run a dry patch through, and it is nice and black. So I'm going to run a few patches through, get the barrel nice and clean, and I'm going to run the bore scope down it again just to see what kind of changes have taken place. Alright, so let's see what we got. Well, it definitely looks a hell of a lot cleaner. A lot of the gritty, grimy stuff appears to be gone already. But as you can see, there is plenty of carbon fouling and plenty of copper fouling. So we need to get the carbon and the copper out. Right, so now I'm going to be using Hoppy's copper remover. And I'll be running a few patches through, let it saturate in the barrel really good. And again, I'm going to let it sit for about half an hour or so. I'll run one more. All right, so we'll let that sit in the barrel for about half an hour. And I'll come back, run some dry patches through, run the bore scope again and see how it looks. About half an hour has gone by. I'm going to run a dry patch through, see what it looks like. It's dirty. Looking at that last patch, it looks pretty blue, so that means it's taking the copper out. All right, let's see what we got. Oh yeah, we're getting a lot of the copper falling out. There's still plenty in there, as you can see. But looks better than what it did. So again, just like before, I'm going to run a few wet patches through with the Hoppy's copper remover. All right, so again, I'm going to let that sit for about half an hour or so. The copper remover has been sitting in for about 25 minutes. I'm going to go ahead, run a few dry patches through, then we'll run the bore scope again and see what it looks like. Let's see what this looks like. It's getting cleaner every time. Still some good copper following in there. A lot of carbon yet too. So one thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to run some Freol through my barrel, and that'll break up a lot of that carbon deposit that's in there, which in return will make it easier for me to get what's left of the copper. So give it a good shake. Just spray. It foams up pretty good in there, so it'll cover all the surfaces. Freol will not damage your barrel. It's a penetrating oil. It's not a quote-unquote solvent. So I will leave that sitting there for a minute, and then I will run a couple of dry patches through and see what rakes out. All right, so I let that Freol set in there for a while. So now I'm going to run some patches through, get her nice and cleaned out and dry. And that patch is black as coal. Clean out the lug area here because it is saturated. And have a look. we're getting there. Still got a lot of carbon and a little bit of copper left. Still plenty of cleaning and removal that needs to be done. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run another regiment of the Hoppy's bore cleaner through, then more copper fouling remover, and then the Freol again. So I'm going to keep going in that 3-step rotation as much as I have to until that bore is completely clean. All right, now that this barrel has had time to sit with the Freol, I'm going to run a patch through, see what it looks like. Ooh, nice and dirty. Run a couple of more dry patches through, get her cleaned up, then run the bore scope through and see what it looks like again. Alright, I'm going to take my Tesla bore scope camera and run it through again and see what we got. That is looking nice and clean. Still just a little bit of carbon buildup. And then I see just past the gas port, we've got some decent carbon lines yet, so I'm going to work on trying to get rid of that. So I will run through this regiment one more time and see what the results are afterwards. So I had the copper fouler in there for about the last 15-20 minutes. I'm going to go ahead, run dry patches through. Still got a lot of blue coming out. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take some patch out wipeout and run that into the barrel. I'm going to let it soak in real good overnight. I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Stay tuned. So it is now the next day. This has actually been soaking for about 20 hours because I had to work. So let's see what we can get. A little bit of blue, a little bit of black. Run a few more patches through. Just going to run a quick little bit of Hoppy's bore cleaner through. Now we'll run a few wet patches through just to make sure that I get out any of the film that is left from the patch out, because it's honestly kind of a sticky substance. I'm actually running the jig back and forth up and down through the barrel a few times. And it's actually not very dirty. So I will run a few dry patches through and then run the bore scope and see what we got. So I'm going to run through my Tesla bore scope again and see how the bore looks. Boy, there's still some carbon. So here's the deal. Sometimes you can have a really good system for one gun and it doesn't work the same for another. With that being said, I'm just going to keep going until I can get this barrel completely scrubbed out. So stick around. Well, after a couple more regiments of going back and forth between a few different things, this is what I've got. And I would say that looks pretty friggin' nice. There's just a little bit left, but I'm all right with it. Now that I have the inside of the barrel clean, I can move on to the rest of the rifle. So stick around, I'm going to get set up for that. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you like this video, please hit that thumbs up, let YouTube know. Also, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so that you can get notifications for when my next video comes out. And until next time, shoot straight and be safe.